Okay, very quickly, how do we process all of this information? What do we need to do? Let's get this label out is what we need to do first. What you need if you want to process a form, if you want to send all the data that a form has available to give you or get the information that's put in there and send it somewhere and create some kind of response or save it somewhere, what have you, you would need to use a form. And forms are another one of these that need a closing and opening tag, or an opening and closing tag. And typically what you want to do is you want to put the form closing tag outside the submit button. Okay? If you do that, then you'll see this. And what that is, and this is why you want to send it to another page, and we'll do that later. But what you'll see here is question mark, username equals and, password equals and, email equals blah, 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 blah. What you're seeing is you're seeing the names we've given them being processed in the URL. That would be how you would send information from one HTML file to another HTML file to process it through HTML. Now, if I were to actually put values in there, and we'll see the email thing go to work. See, now that's how the email thing goes to work. We'll just do this. All right. If I were to hit enter here, now look at all the information that's being processed. We just got the response of username equals whatever, password equals whatever, email equals whatever. And if you look here, that's an ASCII version of the @ symbol. Or that's like a URL version. That's how it would read an @ symbol. Or a space, or whatever. If you look, this is more or less telling you how it's reading everything. So if you ever went to a website and you saw question mark, blah, 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 these right here are variables and their values. And they're separated by @ another variable and a value. Now we gave it a name. So each input field that was given a name is now given a name as a variable. And a variable is, if you know anything from math class, it's anything that can hold a value. So in this case, radio can hold the value of B, which we selected. Files can hold, that variable name files can hold the value of what we sent, the PDF file. Text area named area variable can hold this. If you wanted, you could do something with these names. Sorry, I just got something in my tooth. You can do something with these names in another file. Now, if I were to go, if I wanted to send it to a different page to process, I could make another page. Come on, thank you. I could call it process, and we'll give it HTML. And I could, let's put some value in there. I don't know. Let's say username equals, I don't know. It's not going to work. Let's just keep it there for now. Just keep it there. And what I can then say here is I can say action, form action equals the page that I'm going to send this to. Now here we have to give it the actual name. We have to give it the whole shebang-a-booma, the file, where it's found, blah, blah, blah. Let me just make that capital just in case. That action will then send it to the process. You're saying this form to this form, hey form, take the action of going to this page and processing that. Let me do this. Let's go home for a sec and then we'll go back to Thursday. Now, if I were to enter the information that I did before, I will just do that. We'll go today, say C, and we'll do this, this. It's now going to send it to the process page. And then the process page could then process whatever we sent to it in these variables and then do something with that. However, we're not really telling the form to do anything. We're just telling it to go somewhere. But when it goes there, what's it going to do? Is it going to just sit there? The best way, the only way, is to give it a method. And that method could be get, and you could do capital or lowercase, doesn't matter. A get form gets the values that are being sent and does something with them. So we'll just do this, and now if we go like this, again, we're not doing anything here on this page. We're not going to worry about that till later. But if you have a get form, it can get something from here and do something with it. Typically, you don't want get forms. Get forms are dangerous because they're reading the URL and they're trying to get information, or they're reading, if it's HTML, if it's a PHP file or a Python file, Ruby file, it's going to get what you're sending and sort of present it to everybody. You don't want that. Typically you want to post it. We want to post this form to another page. But again, it's HTML. It's not programming. It's coding. So when we post anything, we're not really posting it to do anything. We're just posting it to a page. HTML doesn't really work with variables per se. It's simply context. You need something else to do something with it. But as you can see, process doesn't have all that weird junk up there because we sent the information to this page as opposed to made the page get the information from the form. You know what I mean? Like if you say get again, that's why we don't use get forms. If you were to say get, if you were to tell the form to get all this information, it's going to post it because it needs to get something. Okay? Because you're telling it to get something, so it needs to get this. That's why you don't want to put together get forms per se. Are there instances where you might want to have a get form? Maybe. I've never done that, and I've been doing this for over... How long have I been doing this crap? Over 10 years. Maybe even more. Well, I mean, originally I just did HTML. That was like 20-some years ago. But I've been scratch coding websites for 10 years, and I use gets. Like I'll do a certain get method, but not in a form. Typically, you would want to use post because post sends it. You don't have to get anything. It'll send what you need. And as I've said, this is not going to do anything right now because we never actually put together anything for it to save these values. When you post it, it's posting to process, but process, how is process going to do anything? You need some kind of front end, you need some kind of back end, you need something other than HTML to tell it what to do with the information that you've posted. Now, there are other things that I wanted to show you with input fields, stuff like IDs. IDs are good when you're using JavaScript, when you're using username or whatever. Like, you wouldn't really have to worry about IDs unless you're using JavaScript or CSS or something like that, something along those lines. If you're just doing straight up HTML, doesn't even matter. HTML has the means, especially HTML5, they have the means to do some kind of functionality, but it's text editing. It's not programming. It's coding. You're not programming it to do anything. So more or less, what HTML is there to do is just display content. HTML on its own is not really all that intricate, all that interesting. As you can see, this is what we have. This is HTML on its own. Now, there is going to be one more thing that I want to show you to give you a little bit more about anchor tags and other interesting elements that anchor tags add to the overall grand production of your site. But as I've said, HTML, even HTML5 on its own, HTML5 is pretty much a means to make certain things like email checks, telephone, even do telephone. Let's do it back here. Let's go to telephone. Let's make like an input. HTML5 more or less had. Yeah, I mean, you could. I don't even know. Does it matter if I do this? No, it doesn't even matter. HTML5 pretty much, and I spelled that right. Like I didn't do that wrong, right? HTML5 made it a little bit easier. Oh, okay, my fault. Sorry, I never used telephone, so let's just make that tel. They made it easier to process certain form types. So if I were to do this, I don't know, it doesn't really make any difference. But they made it easier to reference and process form types and other different versions of whatever for CSS, for JavaScript, and any backend. But again, this is HTML on its own, and we still haven't gotten anything close to making something that looks like this. Forget about making things that are dynamic, that are functioning, that are all that crazy shit. We haven't even done anything to make it just look nice. And then, like I said, I'm going to do one more thing with you guys involving anchor tags, but this is why you need CSS, JavaScript, and something in the back end specifically. We're not doing any kind of JavaScript framework. We're doing straight up vanilla JavaScript. We are not going to make a website with JavaScript. We're not doing React. We're not doing any of that. We're just doing straight up hard code. Everything you do with React and whatever you can do with your own vanilla JavaScript. It's not a big deal. But like I said, I'm going to show you one more thing here with anchor tags, and then we're going to immediately get into making this look like something. And what I'm also going to do with you guys is we're going to probably get rid of all these files. This is just, you can keep them for reference, but all of this is just a means to show you the basic concepts. Once we start getting into CSS, before we start getting into CSS, we're going to start building a site with HTML specifically. And we're going to rename these, or we're going to change these completely, and I'm going to start breaking them down into files and everything. You'll see exactly how you can make a website and how you can reference it a lot cleaner than what we're doing now. But we'll be back with that later. I will not see you tomorrow. I will see you the day after that, and so on and so forth. So enjoy until then.